Welcome back, friends. We have been building the secret messages project, and till now we have built a bunch of secret encodings. For example, the reversal, or let's say the swap of even and odd, and so on and so forth. Now, in this video, we are going to see how to create yet another, secret message. And this time round, we are just going to swap the two halves of a string. So, what do I mean by that? Basically, let's say I have a string Python is cool. Notice the first half is Python with a space. Second half is cool. I'm going to see how we can interchange these two. So, second comes first, and first comes after that. Now, clearly, this is not going to be a very strong kind of encoding because by looking at the string, looking at the output, we will be able to figure out what is the outcome. But as you can imagine, you can combine this with the other modes, other functions that you developed to create something more interesting. However, let's see how this will be done. And if you are thinking you use slicing, you are absolutely on the right track because for a given string, remember, I have to essentially just find out the first half and the second half, and that is best done using slicing. Now, the first thing to notice here is that the string must be even in length because only then it's meaningful to talk of first and second half. Similarly, if you want to do it in a more advanced, let's say more elaborate way, say you want to split the string into three parts or four parts, it must be a multiple of say three or four or whatever number of parts you want to split in. So assuming that is the case, in this case it's true, otherwise we're going to make that true by adding a space. But once that is true, for example, here we have 14 elements. I can use slicing to create the first half. The first half will be 0, 7, 1. And that's because I'm going to get with this, I'm going to get the first 7 elements, which are 0 until 6 in a step size of 1. And the second half will be 7, starting from 7, which is start here, and then go all the way to 13, which is 7 colon. I mean, nothing on the stop, and then index of 1, right? So this how for this particular string, I can create the first two halves. But in general, I can basically say start of 0, end of length by 2, step of 1, and then start of length by 2, end of none, and step of 1. So that's the logic we'll follow. And then of course, by after splitting the string, we will just interchange or swap these two, right? So that's what we're going to do. But let's see how we do this in the code. So I'm going to come in here, and let's say I'm going to create a new function called, let's say, def say swap middle. And as before, I'm going to give x as an input, colon, and I do this. I'm going to do, let's say, swap middle, and I do this, right? Now, the first thing, like I said, I must make sure that this length of the string is an even number. We have done this before, so I'm going to use the same exact code. I'm going to say if length of x, modulo, sorry, to be careful here, length of x modulo 2 is not equal to 0, then I'm going to extend my string. So I'm going to say x equals to x plus, say, a space bar. So this will ensure that my string is indeed, the right length. Now I want to create two halves. So I'm going to say first half, and this will be given by slicing. So I'm going to say start from 0, go till length of, say, length of x by 2 in steps of 1. Similarly, second half, I'm going to say second half is, say, x length of x by 2. So be careful that by 2 has to be outside this bracket because we want the length of the string, divide by 2, no end given, and then step of 1, right? We have seen this before. With this done, so I would have got my first and second halves. Now all I need to do is to create, let's say, one string s as a placeholder. This is what we have been doing all the time. To this string, I concatenate the second half first. So I say second half, and then I go and do the first half, right? So first second half, and then the first. Okay, so IRST first half, right? And okay, so be careful here. And now I will just say return s, right? Which means the input will come as x and output. Okay, have to be careful. So return s, right? And to make use of this function, I can define a new variable, say x swap middle, and I'm just going to say swap middle of x. Right, now when I run this code, in fact, I'm going to run into an error, a very interesting error. I just intentionally left it like this so that we can look at that error, right? So what happens is when I run this, as I said, I'm going to run into an error, and it's actually quite interesting. What's happening is that, notice on line number 47, when I try to do this first half in the swap middle, I get this error, slice indices must be integers or none or have an index method, right? So basically what it means is that I have a data type mismatch here. I wanted a integer to go there. Now integers are numbers without any decimal place, which means like say 1, 2, 3. But notice what's happening is that if I were to do len of x by 2, what I get is in fact 7.0. Now value wise 7 and 7.0 are exactly the same, but in terms of data type, what I have ended up with is a floating number, a number with a decimal place, and hence I cannot use this directly in slicing. The remedy is that I have to convert this to an integer, and I do that by just putting an int around this length of x by 2. Now make sure the brackets are placed properly. This entire length of x by 2 has to go inside int, right? And I must do the same thing over here, which is that I'll go and say int length of x by 2 colon 1, and with this you'll notice that I will in fact get two halves of this string. So if I look at x swap middle, uh, indeed it says is school python with a space. Now that has happened because the first half python space came later, and the, is school came first. The two halves got swapped. Now clearly, like we discussed, this is not the strongest of secret messages, but we'll see later how we can combine this with the other methods that we have created to create something more, let's say, difficult to debug. Yeah, difficult to sorry decode. But I hope you found this interesting. We will build on this as we go on. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.